Welcome to another installment of Telex the Whiskey Tech, and we'll be looking at a new one for me in the Game of Thrones series, actually. And this is Glendullan. It is Diageo, and this is going to be 40%. Unfortunately, I do think it's colored and chill filtered. It does say, and from a lot of research, ex-bourbon for the cask. Now, I think I detect some sherry in there, but I guess the cask that they use is actually a pretty good one. We'll get to that in a little bit. Because it tastes a little more complex than just a standard ex-bourbon cask to me. It's a space side, and let's dive into it. This is an NAS, unfortunately, so we don't really know what the age is, um, but we'll give it a go and see what we get here. Hmm. The first thing I get our green apples. Green apples. Some nice hay straw combination going on. Bit of nutmeg. Some cocoa in there too. Like a lot of medium level florals going on, I'd say. And the very last thing, hmm, it kind of has a little bit of heather. Reminds me of a little bit of Highland Park, just a smidgen. Let's see what we get for a little 40%. Unfortunately, for me, I like 48 to 50 is my typical favorite, unless it is cast strength, which I do like too, 57 and 60 plus. But hmm, it's not bad. It is a thin mouth coat, unfortunately. Most likely also due to lower ABV. It's thin to medium, I'd say. First thing on the palate was definitely like a toffee caramel combination, which isn't too, far out of the box. It's not a complex whiskey, some vanilla. There is some nice dark brown sugar in there. A little bit of a coconut. Right before the finish, there's like a slight grapefruit note I'm not too keen on. And a bit of black pepper at the end too. Finish is a bit short. Um, it's definitely dry. There's a slight molasses note going on. Just a little bit of what I would call a clove cigarette type deal, and some spun sugar, but it's not anything to get all excited about. It's like my least favorite thing about the dram is the finish is a bit abrupt, but we'll get into that in a second. Let's have a drop, and I'm talking like a little bitty drop to see if we get anything extra out of this. There we go. You never know. Sometimes it brings out extra notes. 40% even if it's 40%, doesn't mean that it can't handle, a little bit, a couple of drops, not spoons. Oh, wow. It is a little different already. It's funny. It teams down hmm, it brings the woodiness up front with more citrus fruits like oranges and lemons. Hmm. There's some like powdered sugar too. It's different, but not overly complex or anything. It tames the pepper a bit, which is nice to more of a white pepper instead of a black pepper. Um, Slight minerality going on. The finish is about the same, but it doesn't have the same depth. Not that it was, a lot of depth to begin with, but um, it definitely takes out a bit of the nice clove, sugary molasses notes I got before, but it's, it is what it is. The greatest thing about this, honestly, after the craft is just not there, is that you can get it for extremely cheap right now, $30, pretty much. Is it worth $30? I'd say yeah. I mean, if I'm looking for something a little different, and if you're, typically doing a daily dram of like Johnny Walker Black or Monkey Shoulder, or something like that, Chivas Regal, something, Door, something basic blend, then it's definitely good for something different. It's for $30. I think it's a good solid three 3.25 out of 5 if I'm feeling generous. Um, the low ABV is killing it. The craft, the coloring, the chill filtering. It is funny that I was just doing a little side research about what Diageo, is this built for blends or is it built to be a single malt? And the funny thing, and this is on their page, not my source, not some other blogger or anything, but they look at Glendullan in this other singleton range. They have Glenord and they have Dufftown. They look at this as being like their possible fight against like Glenlivet and Glenfiddich, which I thought was crazy because those are like the biggest brands. I'm not saying they're, my favorite whiskeys by any means, but as far as sales are concerned, they do sell a boatload of whiskey. And Diageo is looking, I think it's something like a Glendullan as a possible way to fight against these big marketing whiskeys. I just don't see it happening unless they completely change the craft of how they produce it, how they make it. They do have an 18 I've had my eye on. What kills me is that the whiskey is still at 40 freaking percent. 40% for this NAS. They have another NAS, which is called, I think, a classic or something. They got a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old. And guess what? They're all 40%. And tell me that's not a letdown. It's a letdown. I've did a lot of digging just to find something maybe that I could spend a little extra money on and try to get something that would be a little more worth my while. I had to look at a 38 year and it was like thousands of dollars. And it was like, finally got to the 48.9 or whatever it was percent ABV. But I'm like, I shouldn't have to spend $1,000 for a decently proofed whiskey. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to be high proof to be a good quality whiskey. I've had great 40% whiskeys. They do exist. But if you're spending that kind of money on, and you're looking for age, you kind of want it to have a little bit of, 46, 48. Come on, a little bit better. I don't see these guys being able to fight against Glenlivet or Glenfiddich anytime soon. But with that said, is it worth a pickup? It's not worth, and I've got a lot of whiskey experts that like to watch this channel too, because I do try to do some higher end drams sometimes. This is not for those people. This is not for the people that usually spend $200 to $300 on a whiskey and think it's, unless it's, meets a certain craft criteria, it's not going to be worth their time. This is more for, like, I had a buddy and I gave him a Glendronach 12. I gave him a Lafroig 10. I gave him Benevis 10. I try to give him like an assortment around, some lowland, a little highland, little islands. I try to cover the basis to see where did he want to start his whiskey journey, and he chose this. I think it's crazy, but people do like it. It is out there, so that tells you something. I think it's good for maybe someone just getting into the whiskey journey that doesn't want to invest a lot of money into it in time. $30 can get you, started. So, and they still sell this like hotcakes. This series I know is secondary market. I've seen this for like $80 to $90, which is crazy. 30, 35 is where I would try to stay. Thanks so much for stopping by. We're going to start a new live feed here in a second, and hope to see you there. Sláinte for now.